Forward, but hi everyone. Welcome to our monthly climate conversation, and I'm glad to have you here. I'd like to start off by saying that St. Mark's Cathedral, where we are here in Seattle, acknowledges that we gather on the traditional land of the first people of Seattle, the Duwamish people, who are still here, and we honor with gratitude the land itself and the life of all the Coast Salish tribes. And I would like to just say welcome on behalf of our Creation Care Ministry at St. Mark's. And we really appreciate Richard's work in putting together these monthly presentations for us and encouraging us to talk about climate change. Many of you are probably familiar with Katharine Hayhoe, and she says that's the most important thing we can do about climate change is talk about it. So I'll turn it over to Richard and let him lead our discussion.
Fantastic. Thanks very much, Marjorie. So again, thank you for joining us. As usual, we're going to do more of a discussion today, hopefully, and look at things that we can do. So I've got some ideas on what we can do, and then we'll talk about those a little bit, and then go on and look at what do you have, what things that you do, and it's around saving money, which is something that seems a little bit counterintuitive at times, because there's so much of a thought that, well, actually, you're not saving money, you're spending more if you're doing, being conserving or something like that. But in actuality, it's quite different, as we'll see. Let's start with a prayer. God, you call us to be good stewards of this earthly home. Strengthen us to care for your creation. Forgive us when, through our greed and indifference, we abuse its beauty and damage its potential. Empower us through your Spirit to nurture and love the world so that all creation sings to your glory. Amen. So I want to start really by looking at the positive side of this, that we may think that, let me just start this over again one time, sorry. We may think that it's more expensive to be environmentally sustainable and do things that help the environment, but in reality, that's not the case. Going green actually saves us money, and we'll look at a whole lot of ways to do that today, and what we can do on it. So it's just really interesting to see what we can do and the opportunities that we have. So you're actually spending less, saving more, and making smarter financial choices. And the small changes that you can do have a financial impact on your pocketbook, but they also lessen the environmental impact of what we're doing. And beyond that, we'll see there's things, if you're doing something around food, for example, it's going to make you healthier. If you're doing something around transport and you're walking more, it makes you healthier. So there are a lot of opportunities to save and do things better. And there's some studies that have been done about how much you can actually save if you do things a bit differently. So if you're using less gas and turning off the lights and using less utilities, you're saving $1,500, so at least $30, $40 a year, something like that. If you're using thrift shops and going to swaps and not just buying everything new and biking, a whole lot of things, you can save almost $7,000 a year. So there's a whole range in there of what you can do, but essentially small changes mean big savings. And that's counterintuitive, because we think about it and say, oh, it's going to cost, it's cost a lot more. But in reality, what we're doing, we'll see how that can save money as we go along. The myth is that going green, being eco-friendly, costs a lot more. And we're thinking, well, you look at buy your Impossible burgers or your Beyond burgers or the plant-based meats, and you do a variety of others, and they do cost more, but you don't have to do that, and there are cheaper options now. I love cheese, and I can get the expensive cheese, vegan cheese, or I can get the less expensive vegan cheese. And the quality is going up almost no matter what you get. Myth is that energy, the solar panels and the heat pumps are going to cost a lot more. And there's initial upfront cost. It's true. Over time, though, solar panels last for about 25 years. And even in Washington State, they'll break even somewhere between 12 and 15 years. And you can get financing for it now so that your upfront costs are really low. And then there's a $7,500 rebate, or I think it's $7,500, but a large rebate for putting in solar panels. Same thing for heat pumps. There's a $2,000 rebate. We put one in last year, and we've had a biofuel furnace, and our energy cost for heating plummeted by putting in a heat pump. So there is the upfront cost, but you're saving money. Transport, electric vehicles, the costs are coming down. They do cost more, but again, there's a massive rebate when you buy one. And along with not having to pay for gasoline, you don't have to pay for maintenance. That was the surprising thing for me, that when we got the EV, it's sort of like, when do I need to come in for my first servicing? Well, come on in about 4 years. There's none of this every 6 months type of thing. So we can go through the examples in there. So there is the sort of the myth on it, and then there's the reality. And it's looking for the cheaper options, not just the expensive options that get all the publicity. And there are a lot of things that you can do and look at, and websites and information. So we'll talk about some of those. And I think hopefully some of you guys have good ideas as well. It can take time to make the switch. Upfront cost, as I mentioned, but once you make the switch, there are significant benefits to you. And if we look at sort of the biblical side of it, a lot of it is being content with what we have. Aspirationally, we're just pushed to go out and buy more, buy more, buy more. There's the data on how many pieces of clothing people have in their closet, and it's something like 120 pieces of clothing. And you think, nah, not me. And then you go and count it, and it's all there. And then 30 to 40% of food is wasted. And you say, oh, not me. Well, yeah, but I threw out this and I threw out that, and because I didn't get to it in time. But it's being content with what we have. If we have enough food and clothing, let us be content. In Timothy. Philippians, I have learned to be content whatever the circumstances. I have learned the secret of being content in any and every situation. We don't need to go on the buying spree. We don't need to have the fanciest items. We can live a very contented life if we're content with what we have. And just simply buying less is going to be save us money, be eco-friendly. And if we buy the simple things in life as well. Luke, be on your guard against all kinds of greed. Life does not consist in an abundance of possessions. And we hear that all the time of, what can you actually take with you? But we look around and it's like, oh, I'm going to get this. Oh, I need the latest iPhone. Oh, I need the latest gadget. And if we're in that mentality, and I need new clothing because it's fall and it's getting colder, so I need to buy another coat, and I need to buy this, and I need to be that. Life doesn't consist in that abundance of possessions. Be on guard against that greed. And when you eat or drink, whatever you do it for the glory of God. We don't think of that a lot of times. We think of it as, what do we want? But are we glorifying God with what we're doing, with what we're buying, with how we're talking to people, how we're transporting ourselves, whatever we're doing? Do it for the glory of God. There are a lot of examples around of what we can do. Lists galore is what I say. And I was looking at a number of these, and some of them were useful in coming up with ideas. Some of it's input from other people, a variety of sources for what we're looking at today. But I put this in just as we start thinking about what we can do. We'll touch on some of these. There are 100 eco ways to save money checklists. So you can, and the link is down at the bottom. And so you can use that. And there are 20 ways, 50 ways, 14 ways, whatever it may be, in all sorts of different categories. And if you also look at the carbon tracker and sign up for that, and St. Mark's is linked into the carbon tracker. there are a lot of suggestions on there. And a lot of times they're not looking at, can this save me money or not up front? Sometimes they do. They're looking more at the environmental impact. But there are good suggestions in there that will save you money as well. So it's another way to look at it, because I think if you're not on the carbon tracker, you can sign up for it. And I would suggest you do that and just go in and take a look at what the actions actually are. But I just put this in to say, there are a lot of different categories of things that we can do. We'll look at some of those. And part of it's different stages of life also. But we'll look at those and come up with some ideas. So you got 100 things you can do, or whatever number it is, and we'll come up with a whole bunch today. But how do you actually do it? And so what framework can we use for savings? Marjorie?
Well, I was just going to mention, I think everybody realizes that, but maybe not, that these links and things that you have up here on the screen will be available on our website, on our webpage later. So that you'll have a chance to link into them later. I just wanted to make sure everybody is aware of that.
Thank you. I should have mentioned that. Thank you, Marjorie. That's very helpful. Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, it'll be on the website. You can see all of this, and anything like the 4R down to the bottom here that's in green, that also has a link in it. So there's a lot of different links you can go through. So the framework I'm looking at is you've got 100 things you can do, and that for me that's sort of overwhelming. So what do you do? Out of 100 or 50 or 20 or however many you're looking at, some of them will resonate with you, and some of them will just say, nah, I'm not going to do that, or that's too difficult, or I don't have the money to buy a heat pump right now, I'll do that later. And so it is really analyzing your spending, figuring out what makes sense to you, what resonates with you, and coming up with a list of what you can do. And perhaps starting with some small ones, and then moving on to bigger ones, and saving money and saving the earth. Just on the list here of the total that saves $1,200 a year, bring your own reusable boxes when you're going out, or reusable containers when you go out to a restaurant or something like that. Replace paper towels with cloths, and that saves you a bunch of money. So those may be things that you can do, or you may say, nah, those aren't things I'm going to do. Growing your own greens. Some people, my wife is a really good gardener. Some of us are not so good at it. So that would resonate with her, maybe not with me so much. But figure out what you're going to do and come up with maybe 3-5 things to start out with. And then there are a variety of ways to calculate that savings. You can also collaborate with other people, let them know what you're doing, and that will increase the impact significantly. And I'd always looked at reduce, reuse, recycle, but I came up with the 4 R's. This isn't my idea; it's others. But it's also repair is part of it, because if you're repairing things, that's more eco-friendly, and you're going to be saving money. So with that framework, what can we actually do? So I've got these organized into a variety of different categories of what we can do, and I'll talk about them. And what I'd appreciate is, as we're going through this, think about what do you actually do, and how does that not that we're all going to do all of these things, but are there some things in here where you say, oh yeah, I do that, and I want to let other people know about how I do things at the supermarket, or how I do cooking, or how I do whatever it is. But think about how you can share it as well. So one thing is planning meals and coming up with a grocery list for when you go to the supermarket. Because a lot of times, the supermarkets have clever people working there. And they've got it set up so that you're going to do the impulse purchases, and they've got to figure out what goes on the outside and what goes in the middle aisles and what's at what height and everything else to get you to buy more. So if you go in with a shopping list, you're going to buy less, and you're going to actually buy what you need. Makes more sense. If you go to a green supermarket that has more organic foods or sustainable foods, that's also going to be more eco-friendly. And there are the expensive ones, and then there are the less expensive ones. And so it's looking at it and saying, what can I do to buy more sustainable foods, whether it's one that's focused on sustainable foods, or you're going to Safeway or QFC and getting things there, and just using the aisles that are more eco-friendly. And again, buying what you need. Cooking from scratch, not buying ready-made things, has a variety of benefits. It's cheaper to do. And yeah, it's sort of the trade-off in there. Oh, I don't have time to cook. Seattle Times and any number of sites have the 10-minute recipe, the 15-minute recipe, whatever it is. And it's easier than people think, but it's going to be less expensive. You're going to have less packaging in there, and most times it is less expensive. So cooking from scratch reduces the environmental impact of all that packaging, especially. If you take your own lunch to work or to events, or you take your dinner or your snacks or whatever else, then again, you're using less packaging. You're probably taking along healthier foods, and it's going to cost you less than when you go out. I'm vegetarian, so I'm a fan of that, but I realize most people are not. 95% of people are not. But it's looking at saying, what can we do to eat less meat? Because raising animals for meat is causes a lot of the emissions in the whole globally. And so one of it is meatless Mondays or something like that. Another is the impact of eating chicken or fish is a lot less than eating beef or lamb or pork. And so it's switching meat if you're a meat eater, just looking at it and saying what makes sense. And again, that's going to be healthier a lot of times for less red meat. When you cook, if there are leftovers, keep them, use them, and some of the things taste better after a day. Especially if there are sauces on it, and it can be really good. But rather than throwing it away, because over 30% of food in the US gets thrown away, use it, don't throw it away. Carbon Tracker says, for your cooking, use an induction cooktop or Instant Pot rather than a gas stove or electric stovetop. Along with being more efficient and using less electricity or not using gas, which has a positive environmental impact. It is healthier because anytime you have a gas stove, there is a buildup of methane inside your house, and that can cause problems, especially for children. So there are a variety of benefits in there. Water is another one. And it may not have as big a financial impact, but it does have a financial impact. And you're paying for water going into your house in Seattle and paying for the water that goes out into the sewer. So you're like double charged for everything you do. So using less can be a significant benefit. So the efficient faucets with the faucet aerator uses less water. A low flow shower head uses less water, and they're built now so that you can use 1.5, 2 gallons a minute instead of 8 gallons a minute. And it makes a big difference in your costs. It requires less energy to purify the water. It's much more environmentally friendly. Shorter showers resonates with some people. I won't mention people in my family who take longer showers, but the shorter shower, even a minute less, is a tremendous saving. When you're brushing your teeth, turn off the water and while you're brushing. And sometimes you just don't think about it, leave it on. Again, saves water. Check for leaks. Hopefully you don't have any leaks, but checking for them regularly can helps your house, helps your bills. Fully loading the dishwasher means that you're doing less loads of dishes in the dishwasher. Same thing for washing your clothes, make sure they're full loads. And both of those will reduce the number of times you will use the washer or the dryer or the dishwasher, which reduces water use and electricity use. Sometimes we just hold on to our appliances for a long, long time. But if we get the eco-friendly washer and dryer, it can save a lot of money every year. And saves energy, saves water, and reduces the CO2 tremendously along the way. For energy, there are a number of things that we can do in the house as well. Most everyone, I think, is probably using LED light bulbs, but there may still be some incandescent around. You can't get more of them at this point. But if you haven't switched over, there's some old ones around. Switching to LED is going to make a significant difference, reducing carbon emissions for energy, and also reducing your costs. Turning off the lights and appliances when they're not in use makes a big difference. It seems like, okay, I've got this, my computer's charged or my phone's on or whatever else. And you can just leave the lights on because I'm going to be coming back in an hour. Turning it off will reduce your costs significantly. And again, eco-friendly benefit. In Seattle, a lot of our power comes from hydropower, but the incremental additions to electricity are coming from other sources of energy to create the electricity. And the demand for electricity is just rising tremendously. Forecast to double over the next 20 years, something like that, with all the devices we have and the EVs we have and everything else. So some of that will come from renewables, but some of it will come from less carbon friendly sources. When you use the oven, if you can, just fill every shelf. If you're cooking multiple things, rather than cooking one at a time, cook multiple things together. That will reduce the time the oven is on. And if you only have one item, then using a microwave is much more efficient. And then air drying clothes rather than putting them in the dryer. For transport, public transport works well. Bus and light rail can work depending on where you are, not always. But if you're doing errands, combining them, walking to nearby destinations, if you're doing some shopping at nearby shops, is a way to do it. Bikes are a great way to get around. So there are a variety of things you can do other than taking the gasoline-powered car for every single trip you do. That creates a variety of different types of greenhouse gases, relatively inefficient. So look for the alternatives, especially if you're going to work or going to church or going to an activity. Carpooling makes quite a difference, and that will save you energy as well. And then a few things from the Carbon Tractor for driving. If you drive, accelerate efficiency, let the engine brake the car. It's going to reduce the costs. It's going to reduce emissions, and so it has a bigger impact than you might think. So those are some ideas to start us out, and want to see if that's triggered thoughts or ideas, or people want to share what they're doing or have suggestions. And then we'll go back in. I've got some more things that we can take a look at, but just want to see what people are doing and what you can share. Kathy, yeah.
So since I retired, and also because of COVID, I have so many clothes just sitting there, right? So I've given a whole bunch away, but I'm also shopping in my closet so that I can buy new clothes. Mostly I'm just, sometimes I don't wear something one year and then I want to wear it the next year. So that's my new strategy. In addition to going to my local consignment shop. And then with shoes, I'm just keeping them until they wear out. So I'm spending a lot less money.
Nice. I love that shopping in your closet. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, what I find with shoes is the sole wears out, so I just take them in and have the sole replaced. And I go to the same guy every time. It's like, oh, you're back again? Because the shoes last a long time, realistically. Yeah.
One of the things that I do, and some of them I actually didn't realize were as helpful as they are, but I do meal plan for the week. Just to read, for me, it's reducing the packaging just bothers me so much because everything has so much packaging on it. And then just eating healthier and food planning just does that for me. And so and it does save me money, and trying really hard to eat less meat. I prefer eating vegetarian. I just have a hard time getting a protein. So I'm just trying to work on that and just trying to be creative with that. After the last session I attended was the one on clothing, and I've been using a lot of those hints. Definitely washing my clothes a lot less. It's been really great. Like a lot of times on the weekend, I'll only have 1 or 2 loads instead of 3 or 4. And then put up a clothesline. And now that summer's over, I was like, oh shoot, no, but you know what? They dry inside too. So like I'm just hanging them on hangers and stuff like that so that they dry, and that's made a big difference. So eventually I'd love to get solar panels on my house. It would be very easy to do. And I hope to do that someday, but I also have a wood stove, and I have a pretty small place. So in the winter, I have wood out there because I have to cut trees down too. So I use the wood for heat, and it heats the whole place. So not sure if that's good for the environment, but it's good for my electricity bill, and just uses less of that. So those are some of the things I've been doing, but I hear so many great suggestions here. It's kind of exciting. I want to try the programmable thermostat.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if those are easy to install, but I definitely want to look into that. And then I have very, very, very old baseboards. And so I think I've looked in before to replacing those with more energy efficient, and maybe I just need to stop looking into it.
Nice. Yeah, it's so I volunteer with Solar Washington, and if you're looking at solar power at some point, maybe take a look at the website, and there are ideas about how to put it in, and installers and financing and all kinds of things in there, plus the grants right now. So Solar Washington can help with that. And then my wife is also worried about the protein. So I got some high protein pasta, which was interesting. It's like 23 grams per serving or something like that. And then there's the protein powder that you can put into it. And so there are a whole variety of different things you can do to get the protein. I've been vegetarian for 15 years, and I haven't died yet, so life's good.
I think Paula had something, didn't you, Paula?
Oh, right this minute I lost the screen. I hit the wrong thing, so I'm trying to get the video, your picture back. But I would say that I have one of those inside clothing racks. Our daughter lives in the south of France, and they don't do a dryer. They live in a condo, and in front and in back they have porch kind of a thing, and their clothes always go out there. They end up doing some ironing, but everything dries them. And now I haven't been doing it as much, but I could do it more. Like when the jeans aren't completely dry, it's really good to just throw them on there, because the next day they'll definitely be dry.
Nice.
And using the clothing store, yeah, I've got a lot of clothes too, and I'm pretty much fine with them. I did go and buy a couple of pair of pants last winter, just something kind of nice. But I need to go to some of the used places. There's some nice ones in Bellingham. So yeah, I like to eat and drink and buy for the glory of God. That's a good thought.
Nice. Yeah, I like that one too.
Amy, I might have asked you this last month, but where are you from? Are you from the Seattle area? Are you St. Mark's or?
In Issaquah. And then I do go to St. Mark's. And my son and his husband go to St. Mark's. So I don't go every Sunday, but I do. I really like the meditation service in the evenings on Sunday. So that started up again. So I'll be actually a while back, but I'll be going to that more often. Yeah.
Oh, great. That's great. I was just curious. Thanks.
Yeah. Kathy, did you have another idea?
Yeah. I So this one is a little, well, I'll just say it. So I use Brita pitchers for water. I do not buy plastic bottles of water.
Mm.
So I probably still save money, plus it's better for my health.
Mhm.
So, but all that plastic just drives me crazy. And you see it everywhere. And so many people buy those just packs of little bottles. It's like, it's not healthy either. So
And at churches and other events too.
I'm sorry,
Other
what?
events, we'll see those all the time.
I know. So I have my water bottles that I fill up and when I go places. And so I probably use more water in the house because I'm drinking, water via the pitcher, but I think it's still cheaper. And it's
Yeah.
better for the environment.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
One of the ideas that I like the best is be content with what you have. Since I really don't like to shop anyway. And I mean, there are some times when I stare at my closet because I don't think I have a lot of clothes, but and I can't figure out what I'm having, but I end up putting something on. I mean, and who else cares? I mean, I'm working on this. It's not like I'm greatly successful at it, but I do think there's just a whole lot to this idea that we really don't have to keep up with stuff. I mean, I don't know how long my iPhone 7 will last. But for instance, I hope to keep it for as long as it'll go. I did have to get a new battery for it, but that worked. And so, well, there's a whole lot of things that were in there that I do. I mean, they've been habits I've been doing for so long that they're just, I don't do them either for saving money or for environment. Well, I probably started them from an environmental perspective, but they're just the best way to live as far as I can see. So I guess those are my thoughts at the moment.
I think that's a great example that, it's been so long ago that you started doing this. You were doing it probably like you said, to save the environment. But now, and it's like, oh, I'll make this sacrifice 20 years ago. And now it's sort of like, yeah, that's my life and that's the way I do things. And it's just, it's become normal. So it's that mindset really more than anything else of, I'll do it. And then it becomes normal. Yeah. Fantastic.
I was thinking a little bit about the meal planning and stuff and how, I mean, I just grew up with that, right? Because my folks didn't have any money. And so, tuna casserole and whatever, we just planned meals and we never went out to eat. And it wasn't because of the environment, it's because we had to make Dad's paycheck stretch. But I also think too, like when I was like in my 20s and 30s and going out a lot and eating out a lot, I mean, there's so much more salt in restaurant food. And I gained so many of my pounds during those years because you tend to overeat when you go out and they give you such big portions and it's really good food. So another benefit for me of meal planning at home is just not consuming as many calories.
Nice. Yeah. Good point. Well, let me go on and see if I can come up with some more ideas.
I wanted to say welcome to Dee Dee too. I see you joined us a little late, but we're glad you're here.
Yeah, welcome. So, several people talked about shopping, and there are a number of things that we can do on that. If we borrow or rent for shopping, there are tool libraries around, there are book libraries around, and we can borrow things. I just found out there's a tool library in Ballard. Now we're a little bit north of Ballard that I can use. And so for gardening tools or a whole lot of other things, I can do that. And there are some things that I can rent also. So we don't need to buy everything. It's like, especially if you're just doing it one time, I need sort of a weed whacker thing. I can go to the tool library and get that. But it's thinking around that way. And I love books, but I finally realized that my shelves have like double layers of books and just going to the library. So I rarely buy books anymore. But different people, different style, different things they do.
I worked at the library in Blaine for 18 years.
Oh, fantastic.
And I am always mentioning that online, like, oh, you can see if it's at the library.
Exactly.
We
Yeah.
don't buy
Yeah.
books hardly ever. We just don't.
Yeah, if it's a workbook or something you're going to read 20 times, which I usually don't, then maybe buy one. But yeah. But otherwise, just borrow the book. Yeah. There are products that you can reuse. Sort of multiple times, and rather than just sort of the throwaway plastic bottle Kathy was mentioning, you can buy a water bottle and just keep using that for a long, long time. Same thing with the food containers that you have, or any number of things around the house. Items can be repaired if they're broken or if they're worn. I mentioned, I do the shoes. Ruth got a new battery for her phone rather than a new phone. Richard Wesley has a place, I think it is, that he has a place that he goes to repair the screens of your iPad very cost effectively. Especially for devices, we tend to just say, oh, it broke, I'll get a new one. But a lot of them can be repaired rather than being replaced. Shopping at thrift stores, it can save you over $1,000 a year. It depends on what you get and how you get. I found out recently that Goodwill has online shopping, which I hadn't realized. And so I needed some water bottles and I needed Pyrex, and wow, was the price different? A lot cheaper. And it's buying the item. So I can go to Goodwill and sort of hit or miss what's there, or I can go online. And I was giving a talk to youth at a church one time, and they love going to the thrift stores, and it's like $5 designer clothing. And they're dressing better than I am. But they love doing that. And this was a young lady who was like 14 years old, does it as well. When we have appliances, we can buy spare parts and repair them or have them repaired. On YouTube, there are a lot of different places where you can find out how to repair things. And some of them are even simple enough for me to repair. And I'm not a techie at all. But you can do that. For even like the refrigerator shelves, some of them break. You can just get that rather than a new refrigerator. The door seals, you can reseal on the refrigerator. And so there are a lot of different things in there that you can do with large appliances, small appliances around your house. You can buy in bulk. I mean, Costco is famous for that, obviously. But the single packages have a lot more packaging, and some of them you can freeze, or you can buy larger ones rather than smaller ones. There are some shops that have for shampoos and soaps or toothpaste, you can get the solid rather than the plastic container. So they'll come in paper packages. They're available on Amazon and other places. Again, much more eco-friendly than all that plastic, because a lot of if you have the shampoos, a lot of it's really just water. I think it's like 60-70% water, something like that, or more. But buy larger ones. There are plant sales around for shopping. The UW Arboretum has plant stores, and they're absolutely wonderful. They just have too many different types of plants. There's the King County has the plant sale for the bare root plants in November. You can go online November 15th and pick it up in March, and really good prices on that for plants. So a lot of different places. So it's shopping differently and saving a lot of money. And the more you're planting, the better off we are. Book and tool libraries I mentioned, and the Buy Nothing groups in different neighborhoods you can join. and that's, people give or swap things, and it's a way of, getting what you need and then giving what you don't need to other people nearby as part of a group. So it can be very effective for that. There's some things that are reusable as well. So instead of using paper towels, you can use paperless towels, which is basically the cloth, rags or cloth towels rather than paper. Makes a real difference. There are silicone bags rather than Ziplocs, and the silicone ones last a long, long time. Do essentially the same thing. They cost a little bit more initially, but you're not buying the Ziploc bags or something similar all the time. I do a lot of baking, and I used to get plastic to cover, while the bread is rising or the whatever else is rising, get plastic and put it on top. But you can get the bowl covers that are made out of fabric that will cover it and do exactly the same thing that you can reuse multiple times. And so that's a much more effective way to do it. You're throwing away less plastic, and plastic comes from oil, and the whole thing in there about using energy to produce it and using oil and going into the landfill. So that's another one. And then there are food huggers. And so the top photo is food huggers. And basically, if you've got tomatoes, or you've got lemons, or you've got onions, or whatever else, these go on the end of the vegetable or fruit, and they can keep it fresh longer without using plastic and without putting it in plastic bags or plastic wrap. So clever devices around if we just go and look for them a little bit, and we can use a whole lot less plastic. We can also manage our digital lives better. One is reducing subscriptions. I sign up for too many things. I'll agree. But if I look at every once in a while, it's like, what is this charge on my bill? And I sign up for them. So reducing subscriptions has the cost savings, but it also has the environmental savings that we usually don't think about. So if we watch a 1-hour video, that emits 36 grams, about an ounce and a quarter of carbon dioxide. You think, oh, that's not that much. Well, how many do you watch during the year, and how many in your family watch it? And then how many in your neighborhood watch it? And all of a sudden it starts to add up to a big number. So, if you have the subscriptions for watching videos, yes, it costs you money, and yes, it has a carbon impact that we often don't think about. Even sending email messages or doing reply all rather than reply, there's an environmental cost to that on our devices that we usually don't think about. One of the things I'm struggling with is paper subscriptions versus digital. So, the newspapers, I just sort of love sitting down with a paper newspaper, but the digital subscriptions are so much cheaper and more environmentally friendly than paper, even though you're downloading and there's a little bit of emissions from that. You're not cutting down trees. You're not transporting the newspaper. You're not using energy to produce the newspaper or the magazine or other things. And so changing subscriptions over to digital is a good way to save money. I think the Seattle Times is $55 a month to deliver, something like that, $11 a week. And the digital subscription is about $15 a month. So there's a cost savings and an environmental savings. Unplugging the digital devices once they're charged. So rather than just charging it overnight, charge it before you go to bed and unplug it rather than leaving it charging all the time. And then repairing digital devices, I think we talked about before as well, that you can do it yourself, get the YouTube video. There are stores that you can take it to. For anyone who's going to the office, work from home has a lot of benefits in there. A lot of companies are pushing people to go back into the office. But when you're working at home, it's much more environmentally friendly. The companies save money on real estate because they don't need as many desks. There are studies showing that employees at eco-friendly companies are more productive. So if you are going into the office, it's also turning off the lights, using less water, doing the energy audit. There was a a startup that was pitching earlier this week. They're doing a presentation, and they've got an office environmental sensor that they use. And what they found is that when they monitor the air quality and energy usage and do recommendations, offices can save about 16% on their energy usage, and their employees get sick 20% less just by monitoring the inside environment. So if you don't go to the office, that's environmentally friendly. If you are in the office, making the office more environmentally friendly as well. People are more productive. When you do go to the office, if you do, take a lunchbox and a water bottle. You know, Kathy's our role model here for the water bottle, but you can make your lunch and take it along in a lunchbox as well. Has a variety of benefits. You know, companies, organizations, anyone prints out manuals galore, and a lot of those can be digital as well. Whether it's the church or, you know, even in your home for manuals that you have, just keep it online. Offices, there are a whole variety of things around the office that can save us money and save energy and be more eco-friendly as well. Next month, we'll be talking about gifting and sort of the shopping for Christmas and Thanksgiving and New Year and all of that, and focus much more on it next month, but just a couple of things on the gift giving as well. You know, one is how you wrap the gifts and what you do with them. And you can use cloth, you can use newspaper, you can use any number of different things. So rather than getting wrapping paper, just reuse paper that you have around the house. When you're buying gifts, Amazon Renewed, Best Buy Refurbished, Walmart has the same thing. A lot of stores do that. Or you can buy from a Goodwill or other things, basically new items. Maybe not for gifts, you won't. But my daughter last year, I was saying, "What do you want for Christmas?" And she said, "Here are a couple of things. Can you get it from Amazon Renewed, not brand new?" And I thought, wow, okay. She prefers that. She's in her early 30s, and so she's thinking about the environment quite a bit, and it is much more acceptable these days. Rather than cut flowers, you can give potted plants that people will have around for a long time. My wife's a teacher, and one of her students' parents gave her an orchid in June, and it lasted through August. So we had the orchid around for a couple months rather than a couple weeks. Absolutely amazing. It uses less energy. The potted plants use less pesticides. The flowers are beautiful, but it takes a lot of energy and pesticides and water to grow those flowers to be cut. And then give experiences. Seattle Art Museum has a really wonderful exhibit coming up that opens later mid-month. And so that's one, for example, Art Museum, Symphony, any number of things that are experiences, museum entrances, concerts, baseball games, whatever it may be, give experiences rather than things. And so thinking of your gifting quite differently. So again, sort of a number of categories. Healthcare is something we probably don't think about. But if you look at it and say, okay, if I have prescriptions or I go to the doctor, there's a lot of usage of plastics and everything else in there. So what can you do? If you're buying medicines, you can buy a larger package, and that will have less environmental impact because there's less plastic and less paper that goes into it. So the 90-day supplies rather than the 10-day or 30-day supplies is more environmentally friendly. If your dosage changes for something, rather than throwing away what you have, cut your pills in half or use 2 pills rather than 1 until they're used up, and then go to the new dosage. It's a different way to do it. Obviously, talk to your doctor. Don't believe Richard, but look at what you can do. And then only pick up the prescription if you're going to use it. I was at the doctor, was it last year, and they gave me like 3 different medicines that I could pick up. And I said, I may use one of them, but I'm definitely not going to use these 2. And I had the option to use it. They were subsidized, but I just didn't pick them up because, why get them? So only pick up what you really need. There are some lifestyle medicines you can get also. The positive ones, some of them are interesting, shall we say, but some of them will be promote healthy habits and promote longevity and health, which means you need less healthcare at all. And then telehealth is a good option for certain things. It costs less a lot of times, and it's more eco-friendly, and it saves you time because you're not going to the doctor's office. So there are more options on that with most of the providers around the Seattle area, and then some independent companies. I think Amazon just came out with telehealth as well. I sound like I'm promoting Amazon. I'm not promoting it. I'm saying that's one, but there are lots of others. UW has it, Swedish has it, and others as well. We don't think of it, but healthcare causes about 10% of US CO2 emissions. So there's a lot of climate impact from our healthcare. So let's stop and see what that triggers some more ideas for people.
Well, I realized I have a conflict because I still get the paper version of the Seattle Times on a daily basis, and I like having that in the morning instead of staring at my screen to look at the paper. And so I should really not do that. But my Sunday paper, I've been saving the comics from the Sunday paper for several weeks now so that I can use that as a gift wrap. So I got a little bit of a trade-off there. Maybe I should just be subscribing to the Sunday.
I have the same struggle, Marjorie. It's generational. My kids are like, I would never look at a paper.
Yeah.
They grew up with it, but I grew up with it. Yeah, it's a real struggle. Yeah, but I get my New York Times and a couple magazines on my Kindle. Actually, Nook now because I don't have subscriptions. Yeah.
So on that note, oh, go on.
Ruth and Kathy. Yeah.
I was just going to say about the paper for the New York Times. I feel like I need to subscribe and get it by paper because a local paper like the Times needs to survive. And if we all went digital, I mean, they wouldn't be able to hire as many reporters, and I mean, local papers are having trouble surviving, and I think they're like the Times fulfills a very important role in our city. I think.
Yeah.
So that's why I buy it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, digital might do that as well. So it's just looking at that, but it's more habit.
But it's more, I mean, they make more money on the paper one.
I don't know. Yeah, they may. Yeah.
And subscriptions are more. So on the newspapers, after watching the cost of the Seattle Times print go up and up and up, I decided, okay, I found out that the cost is half if I still get the Sunday paper print, which allows me to read it throughout the week because I don't have time to read the whole thing during the week on the day. But I'm getting used to digital. I don't like it as much. But the Seattle Times, it's pretty easy. The print replica is like looking at a newspaper. So the only thing I miss is doing the Sudoku. I can't do that. And then the New York Times, I get digital during the week and Sunday paper. So I split the difference.
That's better. Yeah.
And that's, I've gotten used to it. So it's a habit. But I hear what Ruth is saying about supporting papers.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Marjorie, along with saving the comics, can you save Sudoku for Kathy?
Send them off.
What is Sudoku?
It's a game that
oh, that's a game. Okay.
It's a game. Yeah. It's
That's enough.
It's a logic game, numbers and logic, which I love.
I think it's sort of like a crossword puzzle type of thing in a sense, but yeah, very different, but yeah.
Yeah, I just realized my husband does the daily crossword, so that's another issue we have. I guess he could print out that one page.
Yeah, my husband, we've got an issue with the paper too. I mean, we just get Sunday's Herald, Bellingham Herald. and it's about 6 months now, it's just not available. You know, he used to just go to walk the dog up to the Rite Aid before church, and now it's not there. So then we go down a ways. So now he's driving clear to Ferndale, which is, you know, like 12 miles, and he likes that the TV part, you know, so he changes it, he follows it every. So, but I think I should at least suggest we try doing it looking at it online a little bit. But
Yeah.
you know, the packaging from the stores I think is hard, but you know, I have gotten, so I don't buy any seal up bags, no saran, but I do reuse lots of stuff and wash them like my mother used to do long ago. Wash bags, dry them out, make it fine, you know. So I'm able to reuse all that, but I still think there's stuff in there that when I'm at the store, I really don't think very much about, oh, this is wrapped in plastic.
Yeah. It's just, that's the way it is. You don't think about it. Yeah.
It didn't used to be that way as much before
Yeah, now
COVID.
this is the kind, this
Yeah.
is one of my, put on top of this. I love these. And then the
Oh,
others,
yeah.
there's those others that you put over and it sticks, but that's only for the refrigerator. It won't work properly. It'll ruin it if you put it in the microwave, but
Yeah.
we use these a lot. We just have two, but
Works well.
mhm.
Yeah. We have a couple around also. So, yeah.
And we have a store up here in Blaine that they opened in Bellingham and here, and it's called Living Pantry Refillery, and it's a couple that just opened it, and they were right downtown on the corner, which is perfect. And then the rent was too much, so they had to go back where they're not seen as much. So I'm concerned with that. But I do go. I keep a lot of jars and things in my trunk, and I go in and I get a lot of things there, you know, like cinnamon and spices, and
That's nice.
You
Does
know.
anyone know if there's one of those in Seattle?
I don't think there is, but there'd be others like it.
Yeah. I haven't found them in Seattle, but yeah, that's a great way to do it. I hear about them, but I don't know where any are.
Yeah.
I have a question for this group. I was recently at Costco and I bought this Tutabella pizza, which is really quite delicious, but it is wrapped in levels of plastic that would make you think that it is some kind of rare specimen from, Italy or something. And it's multiple layers of plastic. And
Wow.
so, although I love the pizza, I'm really feeling conflicted about buying more of these. At the same time, I'm wondering, is there any way that we know to sort of nudge Costco and other big grocery chains to really look at the importance of reducing some of these plastics and things in their products? Because we can individually do this, but if we think about how many of these pizza packages come off the shelf each day at one of the Costco stores, it's an enormous amount of plastic.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if there's any way for us to lobby Costco and Kroger and others to reduce some of these, environmentally unfriendly packaging practices that they clearly lean toward at this point.
I mean, it might be worth asking the question first. Just ask your local Costco, why is this the case? I mean, I wonder if it's the product, right? The company that's doing that.
Yeah.
So then it would be a matter of, does Costco keep buying them? But if they're selling like off the shelf, I mean, I don't know how they'd respond, but so it might not just be Costco, but I know that the Kirkland brand of paper towel, bulk, paper towels, even Bounty actually, because I get bulk paper towels because it's much cheaper, and then they're compostable when I do use them. But they're wrapping each individual roll in plastic. They don't need to do that.
Yeah.
I mean,
we're
that's
up
just
to about-
another example.
Yeah, but a campaign to Tutabella would be one way to just start writing and do that. We're up at about 7, a little past 7:30, so I'm going to go ahead and close this. So you can, but happy to stay around and chat for as long as you'd like. But let me close this, and Wayne we can come up with bounce ideas around if you have a few minutes, and happy to stay around. But let me just close this with a prayer. Well, a thought and then a prayer. So, I love looking for quotes. The Winona Ryder one, my wardrobe is vintage. I've worn dresses to the Oscars I got for $10. I love that one. And then sort of Joshua's one is the product you don't buy is environmentally friendly. So just a couple thoughts for us to take away. Let's close with a prayer. Forgive us, Lord, for our thoughtless wasting, for heat blasting in open doorways, for lights burning in empty rooms, for homes basking in t-shirt warmth. Forgive our thoughtless wasting, for leaving windows drafty, for lagging left undone, for lofts uninsulated. Forgive our thoughtless wasting, for cars that guzzle petrol, for driving little journeys, for cheaper fares on planes. Forgive us our thoughtless wasting. God, grant us clear thinking, right action, and a gentle lifestyle. Amen.
I like that gentle lifestyle.
Mhm.
It's nice.
Where did you find that prayer?
I think it's from the UK.
Yeah, I figured petrol would be.
Petrol is big, yeah, Anglican Church UK, yeah. I
Nice.
didn't change that because we got petrol in Singapore too, and I'm just used to it.
No,
So
it's fine.
So
Yeah.
the world that, God has made is so beautiful, and it's really hard to think that we're making things deteriorate, So it's really good to make these efforts. It's easier for me than some people, I guess, but
yeah, well, anyone can make the change realistically, and it's just changing that mindset a little bit and doing things differently. Yeah, but Wayne, back to your Tutabella. It'd be interesting to see if we could just start writing to Tutabella and see what they respond with, if anything.
Yeah, I'll
what is the name of that product? Pizza? Tuda?
it's Tutabella. It's a restaurant chain in Seattle, and they're famous for their margarita pizza. And so Costco has teamed up with them to sell these at Costco. So I'll make a commitment to write Tutabella and see what they say.
Yes. that would be
Fantastic.
great. Or go to one of the restaurants.
Yeah, I'll see what makes the most sense in terms of how to contact them, but I'll follow up on it and I'll let you know what I find out.
I'll be interested. Yeah, fantastic. Good. Well, thanks everyone.
Okay,
Appreciate
thank you,
very
Richard.
much.
And
Yeah,
Thank you,
all
Richard.
Thanksgiving for Blaine.
Nice
Wayne, good to see you.
Okay,
Thank you.
bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Great. Have a good evening.